Hello everyone, welcome to the Mayors for Peace Peace Education webinar. Now we would like to begin. Thank you to all the panelists joining us from around the world, as well as everyone watching via Zoom and YouTube. We sincerely appreciate your participation today. To open the webinar, we will now hear opening remarks from Mr. Matsui Kazumi, President of Mayors for Peace and Mayor of Hiroshima.
皆さんこんにちは。広島市長の松井和美です。本日世界各地からご参加いただいているパネリストの皆さん、ご視聴いただいている皆さん、心から感謝申し上げます。さて現下の国際情勢を見ますと、ロシアによるウクライナ侵攻、深刻な中東情勢、大国間の緊張の高まりなどにより世界の安全保障情勢は第二次世界大戦以降初と言っていいほど悪化しています。このような中で166カ国地域の8400を超える都市で構成する平和首長会議は、被爆者のこんな思いを他の誰にもさせてはならないという切なる平和への願いを原点に、核兵器のない平和な世界の実現に向けてさまざまな活動を展開しています。また後ほど昨年12月にノーベル平和賞を受賞された日本被団協の三牧代表委員からもメッセージがありますが、この度の受賞は被爆者の方々から自らの辛く苦しい経験を乗り越えて人類に悲惨な結果をもたらす核兵器の廃絶という崇高な理想を長年にわたって世界中に訴え続けてきたことが評価されたものであります。被爆80周年を迎えるにあたり、国際社会全体に核兵器の悲惨さを再認識させる上で大きな追い風になるものと確信しています。こうした中でこれからますます重要となるのが、市民一人一人が日常生活の中で平和について考え行動する平和文化を市民社会に深く根付かせることであり、平和首長会議としては市民レベルでの平和の連帯を一層強化していきたいと考えています。今回の平和教育ウェビナーはその具体的な取り組みの一つとして実施するものです。本日はパネリストとして、あるいは視聴者としてご参加いただいている皆さんは、世界各地で熱意を持って平和活動に取り組んでおられる時代を担う若者です。お互いの平和活動を共有し、意見交換を行うことによって平和のネットワークを築き、核兵器のない平和な世界の実現に向けて共に行動していただくきっかけとなることを心から期待しています。私のご挨拶とさせていただきます。
Those were the opening remarks by Mayor Matsui of Hiroshima. Next, as mentioned earlier by Mayor Matsui, we have a video message for this webinar from Mr. Toshiyuki Mimaki, co-chair of Nihon Hidankyo, who was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize last December. We kindly invite you to watch the message.
平和教育ウェビナーの皆様、こんにちは。私は広島県に住む広島県原爆被害者団体協議会で理事長を使っております三牧俊之です。合わせて日本被団協の代表委員も兼ねさせていただいております。どうぞよろしくお願いいたします。毎年10月10日前後にはノーベル平和賞の発表の日がありまして、毎年私も市役所の方へ集合せよということで言っておるんですけれども、午後6時発表の時に日本なんとかなんとかよく聞こえだったんです。そしたら報道の人が日本被団協だって言うのを、これ本当かなと思うと、今この辺で若者が言うように、そう、本当マジというような、格好をちょっとしたんですよ。 うち、松井市長、湯崎県知事からも電話かかってくるしね、ありがとうございます、ありがとうございます。私がもらうわけじゃなくって、1956年に立ち上げられた先人たちのおかげでね、今日の日を迎えたということですよ。話したんですよね。じゃあ、これから最後、若い世代の皆さんにね、お伝えしたいことは、去年、私たちはノーベル平和賞をいただき、今年は、広島リレー基盤隊が投下されて80年という節目の年ですから、広島を挙げてね、大きないろんな行事が計画されると思うんで、ぜひとも核兵器のない、戦争のない、自分たちの国、世界の国を目指してね、ぜひとも活動をしていただきたい。そういうこととして捉えるんじゃなくって、自分のこととして捉えたりいかんとね、例えばロシア、ウクライナ、イスラエル、ガザ、みんなあの人たちは随分な苦労されておられますよ。今日ある命が明日はないかもわからんほどね、ミサイルを飛んだりしてるんですから、広島だってもし戦争にもなったらこんな綺麗な街がね、いっぺんにガチャガチャになりますから、とにかく皆さんは落ち着いて勉強もでき、運動もでき、家庭ではね、親子兄弟みんな仲良く暮らしてるんですから、そういうような時代がずっと続くように、それにはどうすればいいかということをね、みんなで考えて、とにかく一番怖いのは核兵器ですから、核兵器のない、戦争のない世界になるように、影になり、日向になって、皆さんは考える機会にしていただきたい。今年の80年はね、そういう年であってほしいと思います。私たちはもう長く生きませんがね、あと何年生きられるか分かりませんが、やがて被爆者が一人になりたい来たときに、日本がやられてまた戦争へ進むようなことがあってはいけないということを肝に銘じて、日々、過ごしていただきたい。そして、ヤング、若い力をね、発揮していただきたい。それをお願いいたします。
That was a message from Mr. Toshiyuki Mimaki, co-chair of Nihon Hidankyo. Before we move on to the program, let me briefly go over today's outline and some instructions for the Q&A. Today, we will hear from passionate young leaders from around the world who are actively engaged in peace activities. After their presentation, we will hold a discussion to exchange ideas. We hope this session will offer our audience a chance to connect with the heartfelt efforts of youth striving for peace in various parts of the world and to reflect together on the importance of peace. This is the outline of today's webinar. Next, I'll explain how to submit questions. Today, we have audience joining us via Zoom and YouTube live stream. If you are on Zoom and have a question for the presenters, please type it in the Q&A feature section at the bottom of your screen. You can send your question at any time, but be sure to mention who it is directed to. After our presentations and discussion are finished, we will address as many questions as time permits. Please note that viewers on YouTube will not be able to submit questions. Thank you for your understanding. From this point onward, we would like to pass the microphone to today's facilitator, Ms. Keiko Nakamura, Associate Professor at the Research Center for Nuclear Weapon Abolition, Nagasaki University.
Okay, thank you very much. Hi everyone. Oh, should I turn the video? I'm sorry.
Okay, can everyone turn on the video, please?
Okay, great. Okay, thank you, Tomomi-san. Hello, everyone. I'm Keiko Nakamura from the Research Center for Nuclear Weapons Abolition at Nagasaki University, and then I'll be serving as a facilitator today's webinar. And your cooperation is greatly appreciated in helping ensure the webinar runs smoothly and productive. So now all our speakers are on the screen. So each speaker will have 5 minutes to give a presentation in turn from now. Are you guys ready? Good. Okay, so now I would like to invite our first speaker, Mr. Ren Okada from Hiroshima Municipal Funairi High School. Ren, whenever you're ready.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Ran, and it's really great to be here and present the journey of my peace activities and activities in Hiroshima. And these are the contents that I will talk about today: introduction and what drives me to engage those peace activities, and talk about the measures of peace. And finally, I'd like to show what we Measures for Peace Youth did in Geneva last summer. So firstly, let me introduce myself. My name is Ren Okada, and I'm now 18 years old and will be a university student next spring. And I have lived in Hiroshima and raised here since my young thought. And I learned the basic things at elementary school, like the history of Hiroshima, what had happened there at the time of the bombing, those kind of, the basic things. And at the next stop at junior high school, I learned a bit more advanced things like the current world situations or what the world leaders are talking about. And then we talked about our daily lives and appreciate our lives and cultivate mind of peace by through the discussion with other friends. And eventually I joined this kind of peace activities as a one of to show what I have learned through those education at school. And for example, I am engaging in a youth volunteer work called Youth Peace Volunteers, that is guiding for foreign tourists in a Peace Memorial Park and tell the story about it. So this is me, and these are my activities that I have engaged in. And the reason I'm engaging in those activities is that at first I learned peace things at schools, and then at high school at the beginning of my journey, I wanted to learn through those activities. That's it. But continuing my activities year by year, I became proactive, and I felt that this nuclear abolition is urgent problem for all of us living in Earth. So I wanted to enhance the awareness of this problem and spread the knowledge about it. So I tried to do so by joining the activities, as I said, like Youth Peace Volunteers, and I went to Geneva to communicate with someone who is working internationally. So I went to Geneva last summer. And for me personally, for my future, I'm wondering what I want to do in my future. So if you have any advices, please give it. I'm happy to hear insights. And let me introduce the Measures for Peace. It was established in 1982, and it was by the mayor of Hiroshima City at the time, and it was internationally recognized as an NGO of United Nations Economic and Social Council, in 1992, and its purposes are enhance the awareness of disarmament and enable to solve immigrant human rights and other social problems, not only the nuclear abolishment things. And these Measures for Peace have members from 166 countries and 8,472 cities around the world, and it is engaging in those activities that on a screen. For example, collecting signatures to ask the government to join a TPNW and raise the awareness of the problem. And let me introduce what we did in Geneva. We observed innovative preparatory committee, and we had the opportunity to meet with Ms. Nakamitsu. She's working at United Nations and engaging in the disarmament field. And the interaction with her was really nice, and we were inspired by her words. And we eventually joined a youth forum, and it was for to show what young generations are doing in this disarmament field. And we had the time to answer for questions, and listening to someone's opinion were really nice to understand ourselves and to think ourselves more and think what we want to do in the future. Such interaction made a bond with other people around the world, not only Japanese, but also people from literally around the world. So we really had nice experience in Geneva and built a relationship to continue our activities in the future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ren. Thank you for your presentation. So the next presenter is Miss Nuria Garcia Prieto from Granollers City Council from Spain. Nuria, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name, as was said, is Nuria Garcia Prieto, and I am an intern in the Granollers City Council. I am very excited to have been invited to participate in this webinar and be able to listen to all these experienced peace advocates. I am currently a student of international relations at the Autonomous University of Barcelona, and I have always had an interest in the security and peace area. So last year, I took an internship in the Granollers City Council within the Measures for Peace framework. So since then, I have been able to participate and help to organize peace activities. Next slide, please. Thank you. Granollers, for those who don't know it, is a vice president city of the Global Network of Measures for Peace and the leader of the European chapter of this organization. Even though my country did not participate in the Second World War when most of the nuclear action took place, we had our own civil war and consequent dictatorship, which lasted around 40 years, more or less. So we know what kind of suffering a bombing entails, since Granollers was heavily bombed in 1938. So from the Granollers City Council, we tried to raise awareness about the danger mass destruction weapons entail and the importance of peace. Next slide, please. For example, last November, I was fortunate enough to help organize a webinar with the title Nuclear Deterrence, Threat to or Guarantee of Our Security within the European chapter of Measures for Peace framework, in which some experts on the matter around the world provided a very interesting discussion on the topic of nuclear deterrence and our future with it. The widespread interest in this critical topic was clear from the diverse audience who joined our webinar. We had students, policymakers,
どうした
and
今日
consensus
ね、ウェビナーしてて、
from across the
で、5時
globe
半
participating.
までは帰ってこない。
Next, please.
はいはい。はい、どうも。
On a more local level, we organized a conference on local government peace policies and coexistence to allow municipal governments around our region, Catalonia, to learn more about strategies and approaches to try and make our world a safer place. One of the key things we talked about at the conference was that every little bit helps. Even if you're a small town, you can have a big impact if you're working on peace building. We believe these local efforts are essential for building peace on a regional and a global level. Next slide, please. Thank you. In the future, we are planning a European Erasmus Plus project for youth exchange and mobility under the name Granollers, Ypres, and Dunkirk, leading young people towards democracy. In this project, young enthusiasts from Granollers will coordinate with young people from Ypres and Dunkirk in Belgium and France, who are all committed to historical memory and peace building. During a year and a half, we will work on current issues such as the increase in political polarity, the rise of fascism, or the need to strengthen democracy as a shared value. This way, we will be able to better understand what happened during the First World War, the Spanish Civil War, and the Second World War. Next slide, please. Thank you for listening. As we move forward, we must remember that peace is not just the absence of war, It is something we must actively build every day, in every community, through education, dialogue, and cooperation. The work we do at a local level, no matter how small it may seem, contributes to a larger global movement towards a more just and peaceful world. I want to thank you all for your attention and for the inspiring work you do in promoting peace. It has been a privilege to share our experiences in Granollers with you, and I look forward to learning from all of you as well. Together, step by step, we can continue working towards a world free from violence and conflict. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nuria. And so the next presenter is Ms. Kanon Iwata and Ms. Manon Iwata from the Teens for Disarmament. Manon and Kanon, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so before we begin our presentation, my name is Kanon Iwata. And my name is Manon Iwata. And we are the co-founders of Teens for Disarmament, which is a nonprofit organization aiming to empower teens to be the catalyst of meaningful change for nuclear disarmament. And we are both junior high school students at our school. Next slide. Next slide, please. So just some of the activities that really started us off is that we worked with an organization called Personalization Project, in which we got to really interact with teens around the world and learn about nuclear disarmament and further educate each other about this issue. We also met with a lot of hibakusha, atomic bomb survivors, in our local nursing homes and retirement homes, and we got to interact with them and really learn their experiences of what happened under the mushroom cloud. And by talking with them, we developed a really big sense of empathy towards what happened, and we wanted to do something about this issue. Next slide, please. So that is kind of our introduction to the journey of our nuclear disarmament work. So we met many hibakusha at the nursing and retirement homes, learned about their perspective and also experience as victims of the nuclear weapon, and we decided to research and educate ourselves further through many other mediums. Just another point, we met a hibakusha named Toshia Mosher-san, and she gifted us this rose called Peace and Harmony, which she named after she found out that we were engaging ourselves in nuclear disarmament activities. So this rose is kind of just like a symbol for us to continuing working towards peace in our world. Next slide, please. So some of the main activities that we do include 1, interviewing and writing many hibakusha stories, 2, collaborating with teenagers all across the world, and 3, doing many community and also public policy activities in our city. Next slide. So these are just like a few of the hibakushas that we have interviewed in our community, and we wanted to display all of them here because we thought that really talking to them and getting to interview all these hibakushas has really developed not just our own community, but ourselves and our ability to empathize with what has happened and also spread passion to promote disarmament in the community. Next slide, please. Also, this is like just kind of the number of chapters that we have accumulated over time in our nonprofit organization with our global collaboration with many international students. Some of these students are from Japan, also Ukraine, and we even created an old club at our school filled with Los Angeles students. Next slide, please. So we also visited Japan, and then we got to engage in many different activities, such as getting to be toured through the Atomic Bomb Memorial Museum in Hiroshima. We attended a peace forum with local Japanese high schools in the area, and we also attended Toro Nagashi to pay our respects to the victims who died because of the atomic bomb. And visiting Hiroshima, Japan allowed us to connect with many geographically diverse youths and experts to gain the full scope and knowledge of international security challenges of nuclear weapons. Next slide, please. So these are just some of the communal activities that we have done. Some of them include creating our own science experiment, which has allowed us to test the nuclear knowledge of many people in our local community and also help educate them more about nuclear weapons. Also, we have engaged in many other summer programs, such as the Critical Issues Forum, to collaborate with many national teenagers in our area to discuss more about ways we can help with this global issue and much more. Next slide, please. So we also been engaging in some public policy activity in our local community. We've talked to the mayors, council members, and even the disarmament secretary in the United States to talk about what youth can do to really encourage disarmament and what we can also do to improve the disarmament education in our community. Next slide, please. And so this is just kind of our nonprofit organization. Here's our website, our email, and the QR code to our Instagram, just for some reference or more detail to the activities that we have been doing. Wishing to further collaborate and also participate in many more international activities is kind of like our main hope for us in this whole meeting, and also to collaborate with more people across the globe. So if you're interested, please reference these emails and also websites. Next slide. Next slide. Thank you very much. We're very honored to be able to speak here today, and we hope you guys all learned something from our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kano and Manon, for such an inspiring presentation, and the rose is so beautiful. Okay, so the next presenter is Miss Iris Butler from University of Manchester. Iris, the floor is yours.
Okay, hi, my name is Iris, and today I'm going to talk about my work within my degree in Peace and Conflict Studies. Next slide, please. So I recently graduated from the University of Manchester, but originally I am from Alderney in the Channel Islands, and I became interested in the concept of peace and wanting to make a difference in the world, largely because of where I am from. This building here is called the Odeon, which was built during World War II, and it's a pretty iconic landmark back home. And I think for me, and probably for people who grew up in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, there was always this kind of looming legacy of war and its consequences, which really drove me into this field. Next slide, please. So the focus on my presentation today will be my research trip to Bosnia and Herzegovina, which took place last March. My focus on this trip was to understand how the borders within Bosnia and Sarajevo, the capital, affected how people from different communities interacted. As part of my research, I spoke to people working within the UN, EU, and the Office for the High Representative, as well as members of the Parliamentary Assembly of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Here we discussed how these organizations and also the international community at large were continuing to build peace within the city and how they were trying to improve interactions between the different ethnic groups in Sarajevo and throughout the country as a whole. I also met with a lecturer at the University of Sarajevo called Larissa and founder of the Peace Education Hub there. and we spoke about how important peace education is and how important it is to teach peace to young people, not only on an individual level, but also in terms of building and maintaining peace on a community level. All of these organizations highlighted how education plays a really important part in building relationships and allowing young people to build peace and create communities that exist outside of more traditional lines or divides. Next slide, please. After speaking with these more larger and formal organizations, we then spoke to many local activists and peace builders working within local communities in Sarajevo and Mostar. In Sarajevo, we spoke to leaders of Nansen Dialogue Center, who are involved in running extracurricular activities and after-school activities aimed at bringing together children from different communities when they would not do so otherwise. And also in Mostar, we spoke to the director of Youth Theatre Mostar, who spoke about the importance of youth groups and clubs in building peace and bridging divides between both the kids who attend and the parents who bring them. In every conversation with peace builders, there was this repeated emphasis on the role of both young people and education in creating and maintaining peace within the region. And within these conversations lies a belief and a strong hope for a better tomorrow led by the youth of today. Next slide, please. Aside from my research trip, as a student of the University of Manchester, I also wanted to highlight some of the other activities held both at the university and elsewhere within the city. Throughout the city, we've seen the creation of the Manchester Peace Trail, designed to educate young children on important figures and moments in the history of Manchester and Manchester's role in peace in general. Meanwhile, at the university, as students, we have held large demonstrations and cinema screenings and debates regarding both calling for peace in Gaza and to end funding for graphene weapon research, and also trying to kind of create a more sustainable focus for our university, which included debates and cinema screenings for both the students and the wider community. So both in Sarajevo and Manchester, we can see that it's the young people that have been leading conversations on peace and what peace means to them. And hopefully the younger generation will be able to make lasting change that we wish to see in the world. Thank you. No, next slide, thanks.
Great, thank you very much, Iris. So the next presenter is Ms. Kaede Fukunaga from Nagasaki Youth Delegation. Kaede, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kaede Fukunaga, a 10th term member of the Nagasaki Youth Delegation, and I am currently work for prefecture government and responsible for peace promotion, and as well as I'm currently doing my master's degree at the graduate school of Nagasaki University. And yeah, to my surprise, even though I was youth long ago in 2022, I still thank you for inviting me to be a part of this opportunity as a kind of youth member. Next slide, please. First of all, I would like to briefly introduce the Nagasaki Youth Delegation Program. The Nagasaki Youth Delegation is a human resource development project organized by the Nagasaki Council for Nuclear Weapons Abolition, that is abbreviated into PCU, Nagasaki Council, and which is comprised of Nagasaki Prefecture, Nagasaki City, and Nagasaki University. And the project has been implemented since 2013 with the aim of enabling Nagasaki youth who will lead the next generation to learn about the latest international situation, meet people from around the world active in this field, and develop the ability to link knowledge to action through participation in international conferences on nuclear disarmament, which is the most highlighted part of our program. Okay, next slide, please. As for my trip to Hiroshima, it allows me to experience the contrast between the damage caused by the atomic bomb and the prosperity of the city as a military city. I think for me personally, this was a great opportunity to rethink how to more accurately convey the two aspects of Nagasaki as the last city to be bombed with nuclear weapon, and the prefecture that still hosts the United States Navy Command Fleet. Okay, next slide, please. And next, let me touch upon about our stay in New York during the NPT Ribbon Conference 2022 was happening, and these are the list what we tackled on during the stay in New York, and we hold the side event which touched upon the invisible wars between the peace activists and the general public. And we also visited nuclear-related sites in a 9/11 memorial. And also, we could exchange views with ambassadors from 8 countries, and Miss Izumi Nakamitsu, and also the Japanese officer who served for UNDP. And yeah, and also we had a good opportunity to visit the atelier of Gaku Tsutaya, and who is an artist against the bomb. And other than that, we could other members could give a lecture for students of Japanese school in New York. Next slide, please. And these are what our lobbying activities look like. And little did I expect to meet so many people, so many dignitaries in one visit, and we could enjoy comparing the diplomatic perspective among them. And next slide, please. These were our common question, like how can we make sure nuclear issues are matter in consciousness of young people, that leads to hold a side event that are relates to the invisible wall, and also what is the role of non-survivors to achieve the warfare free from of nuclear weapons and conflicts and war. That could be the discussion point later this time. And yeah, and next slide, please. Yeah, as for why it matters, we've 6 out of 7 members are from outside of Nagasaki. That's made us a kind of big impression that the dialogues are happening among only survivors, family of survivors, and youth members who are very eminent. That creates a kind of internal inferiority complex, and that kind of that limits the decision making or the range of activity. It seemed that that's why we're thinking of that's where we kicked off the discussion for creating the side events. I think it's better to skip to other things. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Kaede. You raised a very interesting point for the discussion. Okay, so the next presenter is Miss Paulina Chan from ICANN. Paulina, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. I'm Paulina Chan, and I've been working with ICANN as their Canada-based consultant since last autumn. I'm very honored to participate in this important webinar with so many outstanding youths. Today, I'm going to talk about some of the different nuclear disarmament activities that I helped carry out in Canada over the past few months. But before I get to all of that, I'll briefly introduce myself and how I got involved in this work. Next slide, please. So before getting involved with ICANN, I had long been focused on issues of global peace, justice, and equality, and I did volunteer work with peace organizations for several years beforehand. After finishing my university studies, I interned at the Canadian Parliament for about 1 year, assisting members of Parliament. And while I was there, I attended some nuclear disarmament events at Parliament and got to meet ICANN's advocacy officer, Florian Eblenkamp, who was also participating. Florian and I kept in touch after I finished working at Parliament, and I ended up getting involved with ICANN since they were looking to implement a few projects in Canada that my experience with Parliament and connections with various peace organizations could help out with. Next slide, please. So the first example is that I worked with IPPNW Canada to coordinate and do outreach for a parliamentarian educational seminar on nuclear disarmament. Through parliamentarian outreach efforts, we were able to successfully gather senators and members of parliament from nearly every single political party to participate. There, parliamentarians were educated on the health, environmental, and humanitarian consequences of nuclear weapons development, testing, and conflict. And a very important takeaway for parliamentarians from this event was that Canada needs to engage more with the TPNW and ideally send an official observer delegation to the 3rd MSP in March. Next slide, please. I also helped organize a public panel event on nuclear disarmament, which aimed to reinvigorate public discourse on nuclear issues. I put together a panel of experts who could each provide a different and important perspective on the nuclear question. This included the perspectives of international humanitarian law, health and environment, geopolitics in NATO, as well as government policy options. This event was special as it gathered not only members of civil society, but also students and members of the general public who were simply concerned with and curious about this issue. The panel discussion was followed by a Q&A, which really provided audience members with the opportunity to ask meaningful questions to experts and voice their anxieties around this subject. Next slide, please. But by far, the largest portion of my time with ICANN has been spent engaging in parliamentarian advocacy. Over the past few months, I've had many meetings with senators and members of parliament from all political parties with the aim of urging government officials and parliamentarians to attend the 3rd MSP, forming a new parliamentary group dedicated to nuclear abolition, asking for nuclear disarmament to be included in upcoming party platforms as Canada enters its election season, empowering politicians to speak about and study nuclear disarmament at committees, and finally, encouraging them to take parliamentary action. For example, raising the issue of nuclear disarmament within the House of Commons, which is our lower house of parliament. And this leads to a significant development that occurred last December that I'd like to share with you all. Next slide, please. So a unanimous consent motion on nuclear disarmament, so that is to say a motion that all members of parliament agreed to, was passed. This motion was put forward on December 10th, the International Day of Human Rights, as well as the day the Nobel Peace Prize was awarded to Nihon Hidankyo. So this motion honored Nihon Hidankyo as well as Hibakusha, and notably, as that highlighted part shows, it said that Canada should enhance its engagement with the TPNW and advance the cause of nuclear abolition. So this was significant for two major reasons. Firstly, this motion marks what I believe could be one of the first times that there has been a cross-party support for more engagement with the TPNW. And second, this motion was a result of the advocacy work that we had been doing at Parliament. The conceptualization of this motion occurred throughout a series of parliamentary meetings, and the politician who tabled the motion had attended the parliamentarian seminar that we held earlier on and said the event's profound impact on her also motivated her to table this motion. So it showed how important parliamentarian advocacy can be for the cause of nuclear disarmament. Next slide, please. So while we've done a bit of work over the past few months, the work does continue. And with the third MSP just a few weeks away, I'm still in high gear working to urge government officials and parliamentarians to attend. But I'll leave it at that for now. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation, and I look forward to the group discussion.
Thank you very much, Paulina. The motion you just explained is indeed important. It's really great to know about it. Thank you very much. Okay, so the next presenter, the final, presenter is the member of the first ever cohort of the Youth Leader Fund for World Without Nuclear Weapons, UN, Office for the Disarmament Affairs, Mr. Harido Ibrahim. Harido, the floor is yours.
Thank you for having me. First of all, my name is Khalid Ibrahim. I'm from Somaliland. Do you hear me well? Please, can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, okay, thank you. My name is Khalid Ibrahim. I'm from Somaliland, a country in the Horn of Africa that declared independence from Somalia in 1991. However, the international community still considers it part of Somalia. So I have been a library administration manager for the last 6 years. Our national library is called Silanyo. Okay, I am also a peace advocate, although I have a limited experience in nuclear disarmament and proliferation. Next, please. So I started my peace promotion activities in here at the library. I believe that book clubs and reading help promote peace and encouraging dialogue and understanding. Books, as we know, bring people together, helping them share different perspectives and develop empathy. This in turn helps reduce divisions and build a more peaceful society. So as a library administration manager, one of my responsibilities has been organizing book clubs and reading events. I have planned many activities to promote both reading culture and culture of peace. Next, please. Also, we are teaching children to read to help create peace, developing this our children corner at the library. Next, please. In Somaliland, there is a democracy and elections. So, also I believe that working with the election committee is a part of a peace promotion. Also, I believe that training polling station staff is an important way to promote peace. So, for the last 3 years, I work voluntarily to the election committee for training the staff of the polling station. Next, please. In December 2023, UNODA, the UN Office of Disarmament Affairs, launched the first ever cohort of the Youth Leader Fund for a World Nuclear Weapon. So we took a course about the disarmament and proliferation. We learned a lot about the security issues of the nuclear disarmament, and also we learned more treaties like the important one, NPTW. So for the last week, we visited to Japan in August 2024 to witness the devastating history of the nuclear weapon for the both cities Hiroshima and Nagasaki. We were 50 young leaders from 37 countries, including both nuclear and non-nuclear states. We met local youth, discussed a way to achieve a peaceful world, organized a youth-led conference from this. We created also a declare action, which is available at UNODA website. Next, please. Also, one of the most meaningful experience was meeting Hibakusha, the atomic bomb survivors, as we know, and connecting with the youth of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I also enjoyed eating okonomiyaki and visiting many historic sites. This study tour was very life-changing. Next, please. My future initiative is to work with the United Nations for the program of called DDR program, the Disarmament, Demobilization, and Reintegration section, assists to federal government of Somalia to implement a national program for the treatment and handling of disengaged combatants with the prevention of violent and extremists. Next, please. Yes. Next. Next, please. Okay, one of my future initiative also to join more cities to the Mayors of Peace organization. During my visit to Hiroshima last year, I met the governor of Hiroshima Prefecture, Mr. Yusaki Hideako, and the mayor of Hiroshima, Mr. Kasumi, who leads the Mayors for Peace organization. They shared us information about their work and their goal of getting more cities to join their peace network. So I decided to register 3 cities from Somaliland to be part of the Mayors of Peace. My first success was Berbera, where I introduced the initiative to the local government and they accepted Berbera is now a member. Next, I plan to register my city of Hargeisa and Gebele. Wish me luck. Next, please. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Khalid. Thank you for the wonderful presentation. It was really inspiring. Okay, everyone, thank you very much for your presentation. So now we would like to move on to the discussion. So the time is a little bit short, relatively short. We have less than half an hour, but we try to be kind of ambitious, since we have 3 key topics we'd like to discuss today, which are all interconnected. So the first, I'd like to hear your thought on the role of the young people in the abolition of nuclear weapons. So as you know, while global progress on the nuclear disarmament has been quite stagnant, but I believe that the youth activism can be a breakthrough in this field. Okay, so what kind of roles and strengths do you think the young people have in this movement? So this is our first question. So our second discussion topic is that the challenges and the difficulties that young people face in the effort. So I imagine that many of you encounter various obstacles in your daily activities. So although you come from different background and some of you are focusing more on the nuclear weapon issue, but some are more like a wider peace issue, but still I believe that there must be some common challenges that you are tackling and that we can think together. Okay, so the third topic is and on the basis of the second topic, we would like to discuss that how we can overcome these challenges. So I hope we can generate as many concrete ideas as possible, okay? So these are our 3 discussion topics, and then I encourage you to share your thought freely, whether like on just one topic, or you can pick up the multiple topics at the same time. And also for the third topic on solutions, possible solutions, if you have any suggestions or recommendation for other people, you're very welcome to share such ideas. Being creative or innovative is the key. Okay, great. So I would like to open the floor for the question. Anyone wants to be the first volunteer to speak up? Oh, good. Wow, that was so fast. Okay, I see Nuria. Would you like to go first now?
Yes, thank you. So I wanted to say that at least what happens here in Spain, Barcelona, is that young people are very disengaged from this topic because it was a long time ago, and also it was very, very far away because the atomic bombs were in Japan, which is really far away from Spain. So they don't feel like they study about it, but they don't feel like a real thing. So I think for like a solution for this, maybe intergenerational dialogue, because even though we didn't have atomic bombs, thank God, we have had bombings with normal bombs. So maybe talking with people who have experienced this makes it more real because they can explain the experiences they had instead of learning from a history book, which is more impersonal. So yeah, I think intergenerational conversations, collaboration can be good. So the youth are not as alienated from the topic. Thank you.
Thank you, Nuria. You raised a very important, the issues about the disengagement of the younger generation. Actually, you talk about, about your country, Spain, but those kind of engagement can be found even in Japan. Only some limited people in Hiroshima and Nagasaki has more opportunity to meet Hibakshas, but if we look at all over Japan in other parts, still many people feel like Hiroshima and Nagasaki is just one page of the history book. So we totally understand your point. So the Nuria mentioned about the intergenerational dialogue, and Kanon and Manon, I saw you are raising hand, and you guys are exactly those people who has been engaging in such a activities. So I'm sure that you have a lot of things to say. Go ahead, please.
So we totally agree with what you guys said. As people who are living in America and we are also teenagers ourselves, we are constantly interacting with many peers and also people of our generation who are also very disengaged and also uneducated and uninformed about this topic. And so that's why we totally agree that the younger generation should be more involved. And that not only includes more dialogue with intergenerational people, but also we believe that the young generation should take an effort to self-educate themselves about the social and also political climate of nuclear weapons and their issues. Because we truly believe that the acquisition of knowledge provides individuals with the full scope and context of nuclear weapons, which is essential for responsible and informed decisions regarding nuclear weapons. Another thing is that we really hope that youth can practice more critical thinking and independent knowledge studies, especially since by practicing these skills, the youth can make more decisions with more informed and awareness about what's going on in the political climate and what's going on not just in our own circle, but globally, what's the challenges that our community is facing. And so we really hope that through like these pedagogical approaches, we can encourage awareness, responsibility, and empathy throughout the future generation.
Excellent. Great. We already got a lot of hint to think. Okay, anyone else wants to say something on the topic that we are discussing? Disengagement and then, encouraging more dialogue, but also Manon and Kanon also talk about the changing political climate. I mean, talking about the current issue of the nuclear weapons in the education. Okay, great. Iris, please go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, kind of coming off what everyone else has said, living in the UK, I think nuclear weapons is a debate that comes around really only during the elections, and then it's kind of forgotten. Obviously, the UK does have nuclear weapons, but I don't think that the general kind of average person knows kind of what that means and also how many we have, where they're stored, what would happen. I think it's it's kind of very hypothetical for a lot of people. So I do think education is very important in that regard. And I also think that kind of creating space, because a lot of people think that maybe they're unable to change it. You're just a person, you don't have any power. So kind of creating these spaces where people can come together and say, no, actually, I don't want this. And then using that to try to kind of get more people involved, things like that.
Yeah. Iris, great. Thank you very much. You point out, very important things like, people tend to have people tend to be more pessimistic about the political issues or international issues, especially the nuclear weapons. I've been working on the field of the nuclear weapon last quarter century or more, but I never touch nuclear weapon by myself. You know what I mean? For many people, nuclear weapon is something very abstract, far away. It's nothing to do their daily lives, but it's not true. I mean, that's our issue. Okay, so yeah, great. So we have a lot of keywords, the education and also overcoming those pessimism, and empowering people, anyone else wants to say something about that, Harid? Oh, okay, great. Go ahead. Harid, you are still muted. Okay.
Sorry, yeah, okay. Also, I think it's a part of peace activism, building a network for peace activism, like joining more organizations and activism programs, like the YRF. The YRF program is a very amazing program, and the program is opening soon, the next summer, I think summer 2025. So I encourage everyone here or beyond to apply that program, to witness the devastating history of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, also to learn more useful information about the nuclear disarmament.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I would like to know more about educations that you guys normally receive in your, respective places you are raised. Since we are talking about both Hiroshima and Nagasaki, especially the inhumanity of the nuclear weapon itself, but we also, as some of you talks about the current status of the nuclear weapon or your own country's engagement to the nuclear disarmament issues. So each situation is different. Some of you are living in a country which possess nuclear weapon, and some of you are living in a country which is under nuclear umbrella and relying on, nuclear weapons for your securities, So how much do you have a chance to access to the information or learn at the school education program, or you totally have to rely on some other networks to get those kind of information or find someone to discuss with? So what is the situation about Paulina? I'm interested in because Japan is under nuclear umbrella and also Canada is, same situation. So I just wonder how much the general public in Canada feels about the nuclear issues.
Well, yes, indeed, Canada is under the nuclear umbrella. I would say in terms of the formal education system, there isn't necessarily a focus on educating the population on that specifically. And I would say that this has also led to something other people have mentioned about maybe people not being that engaged or that educated about the topic. In fact, I think there's just a lack of urgency based off of the fact that they're just not aware that, for example, it's 89 seconds to midnight and it's the closest it's ever been in history. Most people just aren't aware of that. Yeah, I would say I personally didn't receive any formal education on that. It was mostly things that I had to seek out. And I do believe that a lot of people in my position, when it comes to many peace initiatives, they've had to seek out the information on their own through civil society. So yeah, civil society has played a big role in trying to educate the population. And in fact, right now, there are some Canadian civil society organizations that are trying to involve disarmament education within the formal education system by trying to find ways that national curriculum can actually mesh with disarmament education components. So those are a couple of things that are going on. Yeah.
Great, excellent, excellent. Okay, let's hear from more about the education in Japan from, of course, the Hiroshima and Nagasaki are a little bit I think quite different from other parts of Japan. But in terms of the peace education, Ren actually explained a little bit about the education you have received. But did you have the opportunity to learn about not only about the atomic bomb experience per se, but anything about the current issues about nuclear weapon, how the experience in 80 years is connected to the current issues? Did you have any chance, or did you learn about by yourself after you grown up? Either one, Kaede or Rand, please tell me about your experience.
As a person who grew up in Hiroshima, I had a lot of opportunity to visit Peace Memorial Museum Park and had some other opportunity to talk about the current world situations, like how many nukes are around the world, or what the global leaders said, and what's, how to say, like a lot of, how should I say, a lot of, how should I say it, like, we had the opportunities to talk about the current world situations and what is, what is the peace for us, or what is the war about for us, and then think about the current world situations and then make it more personal one that, as I forgot who said about, someone said that it's an urgent one, and to make it, how should I say, like personalize the problem. Yeah, that might not be the answer for that, but that's what I would say.
Great, thank you. Kaede, would you like to say something about it?
As I grew up in Saga Prefecture, that right next to the Nagasaki Prefecture, I've been expect to receive to a certain level of peace lectures, but what I experienced is that I just visited to Nagasaki City, and I had an opportunity to look around the atomic bomb site, including and also a atomic bomb museum and Peace Park. But what for me personally, I was owing to the immaturity of myself, I couldn't understand why did teacher want us to go and visit atomic bomb museum, because it's only what's happening during the trip is like just input, like please have a look, please listen to the voice of Hibakusha, and there was no room to rethink about peace, or there is no good way to good discussion opportunity to kick off like nurturing students to think their own notion of peace. So what I can tell is like just taking to Nagasaki isn't really mean that it's well educated. Like, yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. So I got the really good keywords, some like sense of urgencies and also like a personalization. So let's talk about a little bit more like a strategy. What kind of like, what is the effective way, because in each countries, like you guys, there are people who are interested in this topic and who has been engaging in this topic. But there are so many people outside of your circle, you want to reach out, right? So what is the good strategy or effective strategy you think? Of course, like listening to the Hibakusha is the one way, but it's so hard for many people to listen to, the Hibakusha's story. Of course, if you look at the website, there's a lots of like recording on the internet, and then there's many ways, but you have to really dig on that, it's so hard to just reach. So yeah, I'm just, it's just an open question. What is a good way? If you have any suggestions or any recommendations or anything, any tips that you can think of. Do you understand the question? How we can, create a sense of urgency or sense of connection to this issue. Anyone? Okay, Manon, please.
Well, definitely we think that because the internet and also media has become a lot more prevalent, especially in the 21st century, we think that social media and also like this, like for example, one of the communal activities that we have done, like the screening of the Vow of Hiroshima, like movies or social media, has been a really good way to engage many people across from different sources. And also that can kind of serve as a way for people to connect more with this global issue versus having to research into it by themselves or go to see Hibakusha by themselves. Something we do is that almost like once a week we try to post about like different like facts about nuclear disarmament or activities we've done. So like let's say if it just pops up on your social media, like you'll take like a minute or two to read through the activities, and when you read through it, you might feel like, oh, I want to learn more about this, so you'll click into it and there will be more information. But just having something pop up on your phone while you're scrolling really, like, I feel like engages a lot of younger generation and also people.
Excellent. Wow. Great. Anyone else? Okay, Nuria, go ahead.
Yeah. So I completely agree with what they said about social media because we are like the social media generation. But also I would recommend maybe, I think we are a very creative generation. So using art, music, writing, movies, as they said, to express about peace issues, nuclear issues, war issues is a very good way to engage because I think if there's text, we have very little attention span right now because of all the social media, precisely. So seeing something more visually, like a piece of art or music that you don't have to be like reading a paper, I think it would be a great way to engage with younger people. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, of course. Great. Thank you. I saw you nodding, Harid. Would you like to say something? You must be an artistic person.
No, I don't want to add something. I just agree to Nuria. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, Paulina, go ahead. Paulina? Okay.
I guess I will just take the question down a little bit of a different angle and say getting the youth engaged, especially because I come from a political engagement perspective, I think is important. And in fact, I do believe that a lot of times encouraging the youth themselves after we've gone through the process of educating and getting the youth motivated, it's also important to put those emotions into action. And for example, talking to your local representatives about this problem, amplifying it and making them know that this is a very, very important issue. It could even be an electoral issue, for example. And what I've found by talking to a lot of youth activists in Canada is they do feel that politicians want to hear from the youth. The issue of nuclear disarmament is intergenerational, as we know. And if anything happens, that this generation cannot solve. It will be the burden of the future generations. And so this is a very compelling argument to make before current representatives. And so I would say that that would be one of the ways that I would think of trying to overcome this lack of urgency, is to have more voices, new voices come to the front, because politicians are so used to seeing, people from different generations, but not so much the youth, when in fact, the youth have a very, very powerful voice, and they should be encouraged all the time to be engaged politically.
Excellent, Paulina. Thank you very much. Yeah, I was just gonna ask you the question, did you, or in general, around you, did you feel any hardship in engaging in the political kind of activities? I mean, sometimes in Japan, I hear quite a lot that, there is a difficulty, especially for the young people, to engage in something political, you know what I mean? Especially something about the treaty on the prohibition of the nuclear weapons. You mentioned earlier the encouraging politicians, in your country to attend as observer, your country to observer, in the TPNW conference, those kind of things is also very important to many countries, including Japan. But it's kind of hard for the many young people to engage in such a political issue. Many people, I'm not talking about me, but many people feel that way about the political issues. So what do you think about that?
I think, well, it's a bit of a widespread answer, but I do think that a lot of times people are almost normalized into believing that they are not necessarily directly connected to the political machines of their countries. But I guess I would start by really trying to teach the youth, as well as just any member of society, that in fact governments wouldn't exist without them. They are very much the bedrock of the government and what they think matters. And so maybe starting in schools, if there are teachers that are very motivated, they can kind of do after school teachings outside of the formal system, to also teach about these things and encourage them to participate in political advocacy. But I mean, I would also say that, when you asked about what the challenges I faced or many others face, is generally, yes, there's not that much impetus. Many times a lot of politicians are not feeling the existential threat of this situation. And so I would think, aside from having youth kind of come to the front, just having more different areas talking about the issue, so that it cannot be more news coverage, more discussions in public fora, or circulation on this issue in any form of media.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Paulina. I really like you say that, politicians want to hear from young people. I think everyone should understand that, people feel so like a distance, the differences between the politicians and themselves, but the politicians really want to hear your voice. That's true, really. Okay, so we have about a few minutes. So if anyone wants to say last words, I really welcome, or anything. I'm sure that you have prepared a lot for this presentation. Please. Anyone? Nuria? No?
I couldn't hear the question.
Oh,
sorry.
no. It's we have only a few more minutes. So if you have anything that you didn't mention or you want to add, please go ahead.
The only thing I would like to remark is that related to young people, honestly, we are like the little people, so to say. So the little communities, so local governments, I don't care if you are like a town of 200 people, if you do your bit and everyone does its bit, we can like build something together. We don't need to go to the highest form of government or the United Nations even to do something. If we all do something together, we can do something great. So yeah,
Right,
we
right.
encourage like activity from local governments.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yes, somebody please. Okay, kind of Manon, please.
I just wanted to also add that I think that like education is a really important factor in the entire world because even if you don't do something right away, but if the whole community and the whole world is really educated on this issue, then like when you do have to make decisions regarding what's going to happen with nuclear weapons, at least you have full scope and full perspective of what you should do, what has happened throughout history. So I think education is a very important part for the upcoming generations, and I really hope our communities can fully educate ourselves in school, in our free time, you know.
Great. Yeah, I totally agree with you guys. Thank you very much. So I think, we can continue forever, for the discussion, but I guess time is running up. Anyone have a last, anyone wish to make a last comment? No? Oh, yes, Ren, please.
Me personally, I became just 18. It's an adult age in Japan, and I do agree with them that the importance of education, but also I think politics and voting is really important to change, the
Definitely.
national policy about
Yeah.
nuclear issues or other issues. And what I want to say is that voting is not so hard. Just write the candidate's name and put it on a box. So I would say yes, election can change the national policy and influence the politicians that we want someone who disagree with nukes.
Good. That's great. That's great. That's very important point. Yeah, let's go vote. That's the first things you can do. Definitely. I know because the voting rate for the young people, at least what I know is only Japan, but it's quite very, very, very low. So that's a significant problem. But anyway, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for your thoughtful discussion. So this concludes the part of the discussion for us. So the audience on Zoom, I wonder if anyone has a question. It seems like I got some questions on the Q&A. Let's see. We got the question. Let me just read out. This is the question. Did visiting Hiroshima change your perspective on peace activities? Would you recommend visiting? This is for the Harid. Did you get the question?
Yeah, visiting Japan, especially both victim cities, and Hiroshima and Nagasaki, was amazing and changed my life. So, as I said earlier, everyone I recommend to learn about the nuclear disarmament and also visiting to Japan. It's a very beautiful country, very amazing people to welcome, and very hospitality there.
Okay, great. Is there anyone else who has been, and I'm sure that, some of you outside of Japan, talk about visiting Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So please, I would like to ask the same question. Is visiting Hiroshima or Nagasaki change your perspectives? Anyone wants to say something? Who else, by the way? I think I forgot. Oh, just only Khalid? Okay, all right, good. So I guess this was the question we got. Let me see if there is any other questions. Oh, okay. So this is not the question, but got the impression from the one audience. Let me just read out. No question, but I want to thank all the panelists for their inspiring presentation. Okay, guys, you guys did a great job. Good. And also I got okay. Oh, well, this is we have only 1 or 2 minutes, but we got some little difficult question. Okay, the question is, what do you think about the idea of nuclear deterrence? So it didn't specify any person to answer. So if any of you wants to say something about your idea of nuclear deterrence, anyone? Okay, all right, Iris, go ahead.
Hi. I mean, obviously, living in the UK, that is a topic that comes up a lot. That's kind of the main reasoning politicians give for having nuclear weapons. There's always, every election, we get our politicians are asked, would you press the button? As if this kind of, like, if someone had sent a nuclear weapon, would you send it back? But I think for the general population, the kind of consequences of that aren't really actually thought about, or when these questions are asked, no one actually considers the impact that would have. You know, it's just mutual destruction. And so I think when it comes to nuclear deterrence, I think we really need to push this idea that it's not a solution at all. And it's really only just kind of, I guess it's just, it makes you feel like you're safe, but maybe it's just going to make us all unsafer in the future, I guess what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much. Anyone wants to say something about the nuclear deterrence? Or nuclear umbrella, or? No? Okay, all right. So I guess it's almost time. So let me just finish this session by sharing a few brief reflections from my side. Okay. So first and foremost, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to all of you, because listening to all your presentations and discussions today is truly, truly inspiring. And then I learned a lot. And I think, many audience felt the same way. We really got encouraged. So unfortunately, as you know, the world is deepening, its dependence on the nuclear weapons, nuclear deterrence, just the Iris mentioned, which is not sustainable. I totally agree with you. But unfortunately, the risk of nuclear weapon use is now increasing. And many countries are reinforcing their belief that relying on the nuclear weapon is the only way to protect themselves. So it's just a belief, they feel like they are safe, but actually not. But all of you here today totally understand what truly safeguards peace. It is not nuclear weapons, but it's empathy, trust, solidarity, and dialogue, So greater reliance on the military power only fuel cycle of the hatred and the violence, I believe. But your friendship and the connections hold the key to achieving a real peace and stability in this world. So the survivors and the hibakushi's, just Mimaki-san mentions, this year marks 80 years since the atomic bombing in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and we are now standing at the threshold of the world without hibakusha. Hibakusha is aging. The average age is over 85 now. So within maybe several decades, we will have the age that no hibakusha really can talk to us directly. Therefore, the actions we take today will determine whether the world continue to live under the threat of nuclear weapons for decades to come, or whether we move toward a more peaceful and stable future free from nuclear weapons. So really, it's up to us. So indeed, you guys are hope. I believe you are hope. So please continue your effort with the same commitment and an enthusiasm and determination. So never forgetting that importance of your own role and your strengths, your power for shaping a better world. Okay, so although I said you are hope, but I'm not saying that you are the young people are the only ones to work with this. You know, we all people in all generations, for all background, everyone on this planet has to work together. But you know, you are leaders anyway. So today, I am so happy to, have such a wonderful discussion with all of you today. So I think our friendship and the connection will continue. So this webinar is just the first step. So we're not gonna end today. So we will continue. Okay. So hopefully see you soon next time in person. Hopefully, So please. Keep up good work. Okay. Great. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So now with great expectations for your future endeavors, I'd like to close today's webinar. Okay, thank you very much for everyone for joining this webinar from around the world. Thank you to your cooperation. It went smoothly, I think. So recording of this webinar will be posted on the Mayor for Peace website soon. So please check it out. So once again, thank you very much, panelists. Thank you very much for those audience. Thank you very much for the people watching the webinar through the YouTube. Thank you very much and see you soon. Goodbye.